like that.
Hello there, ladies and gentlemen, and a warm welcome to our guests on this Sunday afternoon. Guests today are George Moncaster, a content producer and writer for Esports News UK, and Nathan Connolly, also known as Spacey, who is the owner of Digital Warfare. How's it going, guys? How's it going, guys? I just realised I didn't unmute Discord.
I was just saying that as well.
Wow! Beautiful stream stream content. How's it going today, guys? You alright? How's it going?
Yeah, no, it's fantastic. Good to be here.
It's really good.
For a second there, I was like, why can't I hear them? Very honest mistake. I do apologise for that to the viewers. So now we're going to go straight into the stream, and we're going to be talking about UK LANs as the first topic today. So in terms of UK LANs, do you guys know any others other than the main two, which is Insomnia or the other one, Epic LAN?
George, I'll let you go first.
You let me go first. I'm a bit green here to the whole scene as a whole, so I'm going to have to say no probably to that one. I don't know any smaller events than that, and I would say that those are the biggest events that I've heard of, and the only events that I've really heard of.
I would probably second that, to be honest. In terms of like what I would class as an event, then it would be Insomnia and Epic. Like, I can't see anything else being on the same scale as it, or at least I don't get any advertisement to say it's on the same scale as that. And that's just something that we.
Yeah. So, George, you being fresh to the scene, so how it works is, you've been to Insomnia 63, I believe. That's the main one that happens twice or three times a year currently. They did cancel the December one last year, so I don't think that's going to be going on it anymore. And then there's Epic LAN. Epic LAN is a smaller grassroots event type thing where there's a lot less people and it's more just about the esports. So in terms of Insomnia, which is the main big one, and that's where a lot of teams kind of make their name in terms of the LAN, what do you guys think about the Insomnias that you've been to?
Yeah, I think that Insomnia as an event for me was incredible. It definitely fulfilled that kind of name as the biggest and sole UK event. But what I did hear from when I was there over doing the reporting work that I was doing for Esports News UK, I thought what I was told was that it was the most poorly attended Insomnia that those people there had seen, and that was coming from the managers of the Belong Game Arena. They had their setup there, and most of the stall holders themselves were saying this was a really poorly attended event, and it was quite surprising for them.
Nathan, what's your opinions on Insomnia? You've been to quite a few more than myself.
I think it's progressed into something more. Like, I will give it that. Like, from when I started going, it was very straightforward. Like, it's the LAN event, we take part in tournaments, and then there's side things like activities that go on in the background for people that aren't there to do competitive. But in terms of the recent one, I would probably agree. Like, it was not, I wouldn't say poorly, I mean that's a really bad word, but it wasn't as big attendance from other teams and stuff like that. There was a lot going on though, like in some aspects, so other teams couldn't attend to do certain games and blah blah blah, but I don't know, I think the way it's going is on the right path, but they just need to adapt a little bit better towards it and change a few things, and it might strike off even better that way.
See, I find these, at least Insomnia, I find it quite very mismanaged, very poorly managed by the event organisers. Not the main event, not the where people go and they can go to the booths and they can go to the stores, but the esports side of it. We get the BYOC, or we get something that's our own place to go, right? You're in there the whole weekend, but the tournaments are managed by, not by the event organisers themselves, so they're managed by community admins. Now, in the past, that's not been too bad of an issue, but at least in the last one, that was very badly managed by the tournament admins. So, for example, League of Legends, the tournament admins for that didn't even make it aware to teams that the tournament bracket had changed in terms of where you sign up. So the main tournament for League of Legends only had like 8 teams, 10 teams actually sign up. And I know for a fact there was at least 18 to 20 teams actually there playing. Just for like community teams. And it wasn't appropriately managed, at least from the tournament aspect. So do you guys feel that these tournaments need to be better managed?
Yeah, I think like you picked out a League of Legends issue there, but I remember being there and it being all over Twitter and with the CS:GO players that I was speaking with. There was actually a team that was caught using Face It in between rounds.
Yes, I do remember that. It was like a hack or a mod that you could use for CS:GO, right? I do remember that.
And a lot of people felt that was pretty poorly managed, and especially when you've got big teams playing there, you know, teams that are worth quite a bit and have invested quite a lot to get there. They don't want to be messed around like that, because they are putting a lot of their own time and effort and money into these events just to have, you know, what seems like a pretty, you know, something that you'd leave at grassroots level or community events, stuff like that.
Yeah,
I agree, man. Like, if they're gonna do like an event like that, and it's gonna be, look, we're doing a massive prize pool for this, and massive, let's call it 10 grand. Okay, let's say it's 10 grand prize pool. These teams have invested money, like you said, to come over from even other countries, and they've brought people in to take part in this stuff. The most key element to that is giving them some sort of structure to just be like, look, this is how the tournaments run, this is what you need to do, you know, the basics. And then people won't feel so miffed off and just be left in the dark. Like you said, you know, you used League of Legends, for example, and I agree with you on that. I got a lot of feedback from people while I was there. Well, I didn't know where the tournament was, so I just didn't bother signing up, and they just played and chilled out instead. And I just thought to myself, you know, you've lost some sort of, what's the word I'm looking for, like, well, community by doing that, because they don't want to be part of it. They're not interested. They need that support. So if you're going to do stuff like that, give them people that know how it's going to work.
Yeah.
We'll give the news out and use, or older admins, like, you know, people that have been in and doing it for God knows how long. They know how it works. They should be able to help people, especially new admins, come in and just be like, look, you need to do this, this, and this. Because if you don't, the other teams are going to kick off. I know there was issues with the Hearthstone tournament as well.
Yeah.
And that didn't go down too well either. And it was a mess. Like, it was probably one of the biggest messes I've ever seen.
I mean, as McNoobs just mentioned in chat, you know, it's hard to describe iSeries as a LAN when it's much more focused on the expo hall. So maybe to some degree, you know, Game, who I think run in iSeries, don't actually care too much. I mean, if you think about it, like, do you feel safe at events? Like, as a question, do you guys feel safe at events?
How do you mean, like safe?
Security-wise, safe with iSeries, like your belongings safe. You feel safe personally?
I think I did. I think I like, and I was by myself, so I was wandering around people. I didn't feel like I was, you know, I didn't feel threatened at any point. I don't think. I don't know about other people.
Personally, no, I don't ever feel like threatened or anything like that. And safety-wise, it's fine. Like, I think if you're with people that you know as well, it's ideal. A lot of the time, you know, if you're at the BYOC especially, you'll get up and leave to go to the toilet or get food or go out for a cigarette, whatever, and you'll leave your stuff there, and you'll just be like, oh, look, can you look after my stuff? And they do.
Yeah.
But if you're by yourself, an individual, then there's enough security guards that I feel are walking around that you can leave some stuff there, and you make friends while you're there as well.
Yeah,
I've never felt like anything would ever happen personally.
Yeah,
I know there's been incidents.
I just want to I just remember one story that came out. I think it was the iSeries before 63, one of the team managers getting mugged, I think, outside of the event or something like that.
Yeah,
I can't remember, but I remember someone certainly got assaulted, I think, at
He
one
got
point.
hit with a hammer, if I remember. He was on his
Yeah,
way
see,
back
that's
from
very hard
the
to
hotel.
manage for sure.
Well,
You can't manage that. Like that's that's outside.
In terms of the expo hall, though, I do feel it is a LAN, right? You forget competitive esports orgs. Yeah, the Raylux owner got attacked with a hammer, as McNoob just mentioned. But it is Insomnia iSeries. Forget the expo hall. Forget the orgs that goes. It is a LAN event, right? Because they run community events and then they run the main events specifically for League of Legends. You know, they have the UK Masters tournament where I think the winner gets a spot in Masters, right? So they run those sort of tournaments, and it is a LAN because the biggest community that goes to Insomnia is a gaming community, I think called, I might be getting this name wrong, called Blackout. You know, they have like 60, 70, 80 plus members that go every single year. You know, and in terms of security, I don't know whether I feel safe at these events because, as you just mentioned, Redux manager got attacked with a hammer. In the event, you know, your PC equipment's safe, everything that's around there's safe. They're constantly checking bags. But I remember Insomnia 61, I think it was, the Call of Duty trophy got stolen. You know, at I-61, you know, there was I think it was the Conor McGregor and Mayweather fight. People got behind the main stage where the esports stuff was going to be played and put it on the main big screen. So during the day, it seems they care about the security, but it's a bit more lax towards the end of the night.
I think yes, to a degree. Like personally, when I see it at the evenings, a lot of it's down to drunken behaviour. Let's be honest. Like, you know, people have been drinking throughout the day, or sometimes just all evening, especially on the Friday and Saturday nights, because that's when some of the entertainment's put on. I can't remember which, Pub Quiz and Darkroom.
Darkroom, yeah.
And they come back and they're absolutely trashed. Like, I'm not being funny, but the amount of people I've seen thrown out just from turning up drunk, you know, me personally, I feel fine by it, but you're gonna have what I would call knobhead mentality.
Yeah.
Kick in. And a lot of that was down to like the Conor McGregor fight. It was done in the evening. Like, you know, they're not expecting somebody to go behind the stage and put on a massive fight. In theory, that's what they would think, but we all know that's gonna happen. Let's be honest.
Yeah, I mean, back to it being a LAN, right? It does cost. Like, I know teams and I know orgs, they send players to this event, and it costs quite a lot. Like, Spacey, you're an org owner, like, what does it say to cost, I don't know, 5 people, like a league team or a CSGO team, to go to an event?
Well, you have to take into consideration, like, what the deal is leading up to the event. So let's go on par with you're just buying them tickets to go to the event. That's the deal for now, right? It's around £115 each just for the tickets, and that's with no discount on your card or anything like that. There's no discount on the account that you purchase it from. And so I'm using Insomnia as an example, in case they're on things like Epic Land or whatever.
Yeah.
But so that's like 500 and odd quid already that you've just racked up on them. And then you've got to think about the accommodation, the food, if you're also going to help pay for or feed them while they're there. In theory, like, you know, they should be able to look after themselves.
So it costs quite a lot.
But
Would you
it's
say
a lot of money.
Over $1,000 probably?
You're looking on par with about 1,500.
You know,
minimum.
Why? I don't know what you feel about this, but why can't LAN events? What's stopping them working with orgs and like pre-booking seats? Like, if you know, like for your example, George, you're a reporter. You know, say you're going to this event. Why can't LAN events work with orgs and say, we're going to allocate you this many slots that you can pre-book in a select row, and you can go. These are your seats as long as you buy the tickets. Anything extra, is with you. So I don't mean like offering them discounts. I mean having set specific places within the event hall.
Yeah, I think that's
logistically wise.
I think that's a really good question, and I think there should be more done for it. But I think if I was playing devil's advocate and arguing from their perspective, I think the variation in tiers of teams that would apply for that, you get people that are very established and well known, and pillars of their scene. They are well known teams. They can contribute to their community. But I also think you'd probably get less well-known orgs, people that aren't registered entities, businesses, even stuff that is kind of just a group of mates getting together and trying to make something work. And maybe not even that, they might just take the cake a little bit and try and push whatever lenience they've got on that allocation. That's why I assume they probably don't do that already.
But I think in terms of that, you mentioned a key thing there about like as a business and stuff. I think the ones that are registered as a business, like let's go with M&M, Diablos, all those kind of people, like Enclave. I'm pretty sure they are registered as businesses. Let's use them as an example. Like they know they are. They can check it themselves. It's not difficult to look at. Somebody like them, for example, could go along to them and say, "Look, we are bringing X number of people to this event. Like, can you sort us out with this, this, and this already at a business rate?" Rather than okay, you've got to pay for this and this and this. Me personally, I would feel more obliged to go down that route than to look at it and go, actually, this is getting out of control.
That raises a question. You think, so why are they not doing that already? And maybe it is like poor management, or maybe they don't see it as an issue themselves yet. They don't physically see the problems yet, or they haven't noticed. And that's why it's important that people do point out the flaws or criticize these events, because otherwise nothing's going to change.
I mean, the overarching question for UK LANs for me is, do we need more of them, or do we not necessarily need less, but do we need to make the ones that we have currently better?
That's a good question. I would say you have a lot of events already going on in the UK. I think there's a lot already going on with Epic LAN and King of the North and stuff like that. There's a lot of grassroots stuff going on that people can get involved in. And me and Spacey were having this conversation before we came on. We were saying there's not enough like mid-ground. There's a lot going for small tier orgs, and there's a lot going for top tier orgs that can compete internationally in big events. But there's not enough actually bridging the gap between those two. It's a big investment to make to cross that gap, and you have to be really confident in your ability as a manager, an owner, and your players to be able to do that. So I think we should have more, and they should be better developed and bridge that gap.
Yeah, I agree fully. It needs to have that gap like taken care of, because there isn't anything there, and you either go all in with a huge investment and take the risk that if it backfires, you're buggered, or you don't, and you just play it safe until you can afford to take that risk. And people like myself, for example, have to do that because it's not feasible as an owner. Like, there's too much to invest in my eyes. But yeah, hopefully we'll see it change.
You touched on a good point there, George, between bridging the ground from those that compete internationally. It's not just about competing. I think it's more about having the money and having the capital to send teams to events like international ones like DreamHack, and then sending them to low tier or like mid tier events like Insomnia, and actually being able to afford it and have the capital for those events. So in terms of UK LANs and tournaments, do we need more prize pool? Because thinking about it, like I think the last League of Legends one, I'm going to use League because that's the one I know the most, I think was a 5,000 prize pool. Now the year before that it was only 1,500 prize pool. Now that's going up. The year before, when it was 1,500, if you won, it wasn't enough to like make your money back from sending a team there. This year 5,000 possibly enough. One way to get around this is crowdfunding. Good example for this, I think it was I-58 or I-59 Hearthstone tournament. The True Silver tournament was crowdfunded, and it had a 30k prize pool. So do we need bigger prize pools, or do we just need more events to partake in?
I think why not both? I think the money is there. This industry in the UK is predicted to be worth what, 2.3 billion this year or next year alone. I think there's definitely enough there to make these prize pools bigger, and also have people organising their own events and creating more opportunities for teams at all tiers. I think there is enough there. It just needs drive and incentive to do that. I think someone needs to maybe lead that, or make sure that these people are getting the message about what needs to be done.
Yeah, I agree. Like, fluctuation in the prize pools at the events is, from my perspective, slightly odd. Kind of feels like it's flavor of the month when it comes to picking a game. And Dota 2, we were discussing this earlier, like Dota 2 is a big scene, it's a big game, there's a lot there, but it's kind of been removed from the UK scene, and I know for a while there's a huge investment in that, so why strip that away and replace it with something else, when if you'd just taken a bit of time to work on it, you'd have an even bigger scene on that. You'd bring in more people, or do Rocket League, but do Dota as well. There's a lot of people there. The last Insomnia event I was at, half the time I walked around and looked at other people's screens, because I do that. Like I like looking at people's screens and going, what are they playing? Like, what is the flavor of the month? And a lot of them are playing like MMOs for a bit of casual fun.
I saw quite a lot of Monster Hunter.
Yeah. But they don't kind of fund it. So the prize pools, you look at them and you have to take into account as well. It's not just it's $5,000. If the top tier team wins $5,000, no, it's split between first, second, third, fifth, sixth, and eighth. Get a little percentage of it as well. You don't walk away with $5,000, and that's the biggest thing that people make a mistake on, is they look at it and go, "Fuck, there's $5,000 to win. Like, I'm gonna go take it." No, there's not $5,000. Call it 2,500.
Now, you mentioned grassroots and growing the scene. I think this is sort of a good segue into esports bars. So, in terms of esports bars, what is there in the UK? I know of Meltdown. I know of the Red Bull Gaming Sphere, which is more of like I think it does have a bar, but it's more of like a community-ran tournament events. And then there was Eden, I think, which was around Leeds or Nottingham's area, and that actually folded. Do you guys know of any other esports bars within the UK?
Yeah, I think the one that springs to mind for me is Loading, which I know have a couple of locations across the UK at the minute. I believe they've got one in Brighton.
Sorry, what was that? You cut out for a second.
Oh, sorry. Loading bars.
Okay.
I think they have a couple of stores across the country, and they seem to be getting on pretty well. They do all sorts of nice events and host business events for people like Yuki and ESL and all sorts of industry events, which are quite important, I think, for building that sense of community. And it's a nice dedicated area for people who enjoy this stuff to go and get a couple of drinks and stuff like that.
Do you know of any, Nathan?
No, I was going to say Loading as well. Like, it's probably, to be honest, I didn't even think Eden had folded. Like, I thought they were still going, so that's news to me, actually. But
no, Eden folded. Loading's still going.
No, that's what I mean. Eden. Like,
I
didn't think they'd folded. Like, they only kind of.
I think they lost investment, and they had some issues getting people in. I think I'm 90% sure they folded based on conversations that I've had with people.
I think they're a good thing to have. Like, they're a community place for people like gamers that want to go and have a drink and sit down and maybe just watch on the big screen like a couple of games, or even take part in them and meet other gamers. Socially, from a social aspect, it's a good thing to have. And there should be a few more, maybe not so branded as such, but just give them an edge. Like, Meltdown. I've been to the Meltdown ones, and they're great atmosphere. They're good people. It's friendly banter. The food's good. The drinks are good. You can't knock it. I enjoy doing that more than going to a pub.
Yeah. Sorry,
It's so important as well. I think in breaking that kind of stigma of like, oh, you doing PC gaming or you doing esports, you're locked up scrimming all the time, or sitting behind your computer 24/7. Actually making that a communal thing and getting people in person talking to each other, I think is so useful, like incredibly useful. And people push the social benefits of teamwork and leadership and stuff like that with esports all the time. But I think
yeah.
having these social areas is so important. They're almost like, I want to say they're following the legacy of web cafes and stuff like that in a way.
Yeah, yeah. The legacy of I like that. So do you reckon esports bars should just be like sports bars where you go, you watch tournaments, or do you think they should keep in the tradition of hosting their own tournaments and growing this grassroots stuff, and at least streaming it, because it'd be good to see, I think, on stream.
Oh, definitely. I think there's a couple of pieces talking about IRL streaming in the UK that I've seen quite a lot of, and I can see this being a massive venue for that. You see people, big personalities and brands who have these sort of studio live streams where they just stream people sitting and playing, or people working at a restaurant. They live stream the kitchen. I think there's such a big opportunity there for that sort of stuff, and especially if they did their tournaments and they build that kind of brand, they build that local area, they have their local teams like the Belong Game Arenas, they have all of their branded teams. I think building that sense of loyalty to an area or a certain location is just so useful for getting people into this. And you were saying before we started talking about the percentages of people that play video games. I don't know if you want to mention that.
I mean, I don't know if my numbers are correct, but from my research and what I remember off the top of my head, there's something crazy like there's only 6 million people in the UK that actually game, and of that percentage, I think 3 to 3.5 million know what esports is, and I think even less than that actually claim to watch esports on a regular basis. I think it was something like 2 million, which in the grand scheme of it, I think something like less than 10% of the population of the UK, which is not much if you think about it.
But I think a lot of that's down to the fact that, again, it's kind of frowned upon in the social aspect of, oh, you're a gamer, you need to get out of the house and not.
Which is where esports bars could come in and sort of bridge that gap.
I think, like, it bridges the gap of, it is actually a sociable thing. Like, you meet people, you talk to people, you have the same interests as them. Some people are like that. There's plenty of people I know that love just talking about games. They can do it for hours on end, and they want to meet people like that. That's the conversations they want to have, where better to do it than an esports bar. I think in terms of what you were saying before, Cameron, about what you'd like to see more of, I think the streams and stuff and the tournaments that are there, they're really good. And I think Meltdown did it at one point as well, as a Friday night fight.
Yeah, I think I remember seeing that.
A boxing setup is, you get a bunch of people down there, you get a group of mates down there to go fight it out in a tournament setup, and you get a bit of a reputation from it. And 90% of the games that you watch, when people start get going on them things, they get hyped, and you can have that atmosphere, especially in a bar where people are having like a good time and drink.
Yeah, I mean, I think. Again, it's about growing the community, right? It's about building our industry higher and higher and higher. This is another low grassroots level thing that we can do to push our industry further, do more, have more investment, have more sponsorships. So I'd like to see, esports bars working with orgs, not even working with orgs, working with people in the local community, developing casters, coaches, analysts for certain games. Get people in to talk about certain games. Like, really big game now is esport.
Esport. It's esport.
A really big game now is Fortnite. Esports bars. You could see, like, only allowed to serve people over 7 o'clock. But I think there's certain things you could do with an esports bar that would put you way ahead of the competition. You know, that's like, make it available during the day. Don't just be an esports bar. Do something more. Have not just esports. You know, have board games. Have community events. Have like Fortnite lessons for kids, like in the afternoon. Hey kid, you just had a Fortnite lesson. Why don't you come learn about esports and watch a Fortnite tournament? And that's the basis of where I think you can grow and build the scene. You know, someone who, like a 13-year-old kid, I really like Fortnite, I want to get better. I heard this esports bar is offering lessons to get better at shooting. Okay, I'll go to this. In the background whilst learning, you know, there's a Twitch stream up of like Ninja, or there's a Fortnite tournament going on. Not even a high level tournament. It could just be some random online community tournament. Okay, there's a caster. You know, why can't I do that? I
think that's so important. I think the other thing that is like how, like geographically, how local these places should be. Like, I think coverage wise, it's so important, because otherwise people have to travel, you know, down to London or into the West Midlands to get to these places. So the fact that they are small, the overheads are probably quite low. They're, you know, from individual people setting them up and funding them, it is a business, but they're local. They are local, and the idea that we can have more of them across the country, they're just putting another rung in the ladder of building people up to that top tier of play and stuff like that. You know, can you imagine the sort of origin story of, oh yeah, I was in an esports bar playing when I was like 16, you know, 17, and then I moved up to a LAN event, and then I moved up and up and up and up. I think they're so important. I think they really are.
I think the thing with esports bars, it's about taking it offline, you know, reducing that stigma and bringing it more to a live scenario, live event. You know, Nathan said reducing the stigma. You know,
it would be better that way. Like, you can bridge a gap with just a community of people from that aspect. Like, let's take for instance your top tier teams. Like, there's only so many of them. There's only so much that they would bring to that atmosphere. You know, you've got more people that want to be involved, and more people that sit in the background waiting for something to come up. And that effectively generates revenue within the business. So if you give them that opportunity, they feel the dreams wise, build it and they will come. It is a true statement.
Yeah, I think that's bang on. They are so important. Like, I can't stress it enough. I think being able to, especially live events, like you said, so much more attention drawn to them. I think if you see people queuing up, or you see like a big something going on in your local community, you're so much more likely to take interest in it, I think.
Yeah, I mean, in terms of working with orgs as well, you know, this could be a good thing for, like, say there's one in your local city. As an org, you could work with them to sort of, in terms of sponsorship, you know, you're going to sponsor our org. We've got a team that's going to a live finals here. Let's get your brand out there further, as well as ours. We can work together. You know, there's a basis there whereby you can create a healthy environment within the scene that naturally grows itself and supports each other.
Yeah, well, the orgs themselves, they can use, you know, the bars and stuff like that as a potential place to practice and meet, gather,
even that,
even show off. Like, you know, let's just say it's, I don't know,
another revenue stream.
It's an M&M day. They, you know, the whole M&M team staff there, whatever, and they're there promoting their brand. And then you could, like, you know, in another city, you've got a Diablos day or an Enclave day. Or, do you know what I mean? Like,
yeah. I mean, in terms of tournaments, like, if it's prize pools as well, it's another way of earning a revenue stream, possibly, for orgs.
Yeah, and I can't see that, like, and as an esports bar or as a gaming bar, they're going to have so many opportunities to bring in money that they shouldn't have a problem with covering their own costs, because they could appeal to the esports community, they could pair up with organisations and get players in, but they could also be doing business events for industry and people working in offices. They could do student union events for the local you know, group of students and stuff like that. They have so many opportunities that I can't see like them getting locked down into one thing and struggling with costs.
Yeah, I agree.
Oh, sorry about that. So we spoke a bit about esports bars in the UK LANs, and I think it's time we should move on to tournament formats. And I know you wanted to mention something on this, George, regarding the Overwatch contenders.
Yeah, so I kind of came in and was like, oh, I think about Overwatch and UK and European Overwatch, because it's something that I think is something that could really take off, I think, in this scene. And of course, Overwatch and Blizzard, they have in place their tournament format, which is the Overwatch Path to Pro.
Yeah.
And it's a series of tournaments and formats that build up to their top tier of play, and they're all about creating that healthy ecosystem of players and teams that scout these lower leagues to pick up players, and that whole ladder idea of people moving up from the bottom. And I think you can see parallels with the ecosystem here in the UK, and that's something we should aspire towards. Sorry, I'm getting off topic, but
yeah, that's fine. That's fine. Go ahead with your point. We've got plenty of time.
They start with open division, and then they build up to trials, and they build up to contenders, and they build up to the Overwatch League, which is the highest tier of play. And as the UK, we don't see any of the Overwatch League action primarily. We have a team called London Spitfire, which is a fully Korean roster, and they're pretty good at bringing their players across. They had a team visit a couple of weeks ago where they actually brought the players across and showed them around Britain where they're not actually here, but they did, to their credit, come and say, look, here are our players that are supposed to be representing London. I think with contenders, there's a lot that can be drawn from that and applied to other scenes in the UK. There's a lot of top-down investment and direction from Blizzard into this scene. For example, all of their tournaments in Europe are, overseen by Blizzard as a company. And I think that's something that we should try and replicate with other scenes in the UK. I think that that's quite important, I think.
I mean, you made a good point, right? Blizzard support all tournaments within the scene, right? Overwatch has only been out for, what, 3-4 years, if that? And they're already running tournaments, they're already supporting the UK scene, they've already had a World Championships, right? And the meme is, right, like League of Legends World Championship today, they had really good content, really good stuff. And then you have Blizzard on the other side that had DJ Khaled, right? That was the meme today.
Yeah, I've seen that meme.
That's the meme, right? Now, if you think about it, Blizzard do way much better than League of Legends in terms of their tournaments. So as you said, they're supporting these scenes. Riot, they've only just come into League of Legends UK scene and actually made a UK office, and they had the Ireland one before that, but they've only just started to support the scene. Before that, it was all ESL. ESL had to support it. We had the live finals. Yeah. That was the only proving grounds for UK League of Legends. Now, we've got Forge of Champions. Alright, we had a few arguments last week on the stream about Forge of Champions and what we think of it, but it's finally coming. Now, game owners, devs, whatever you want to call them, they need to support all levels of competition. Riot only really supported the US in terms of LANs and stuff like that. I want to see more from, I don't know, CSGO, Let's have a CSGO run over...
We did have the major, but again, that is
the Faceit majors?
That's such like, it's not achievable for a lot of native players and stuff like that. That's beyond them. They haven't got anything to build up to that. And with all credit where credit's due, Blizzard have tried so hard to make Overwatch an esport, because I think they recognise there's such a big money and revenue opportunity for them there. I think the paradox we're stuck in is that they want to see that there is a community for esports in the UK, which we don't have that fully in place yet. And for that to be fully in place, we have to see this investment. So we're in like this weird mix where we can't get either, and one without the other isn't going to happen.
It's like Blizzard games in general. They've any sort of like esport-y type atmosphere or tournament atmosphere for that matter, as their revenue has always come from the US or Asia. Like Warcraft 3, for example, like, it was huge, like in terms of a tournament, but UK wise, didn't really touch upon it. You know, and then you've got Overwatch, like, the Overwatch teams and stuff like that. They've done it in Insomnia, but it's not even anywhere close to being on the same page as what you've just seen from the Overwatch League.
Yeah.
And I think Blizzard are slowly getting there, but like you said, you know, they're testing the water to see, does the UK have a scene there? Does it have a market that it can work with? And I think they might kind of bridge that gap with us now. Maybe.
Yeah.
Time will tell.
I think there's the performance of the Overwatch team at the UK Overwatch team at the World Cup is probably quite good for us in that sense, because they've shown that, you know, we do produce not only broadcast talent but actually quality players as well.
Yeah. So, it's always good if we can reach all levels. That's for sure.
Agree.
I mean,
broadcast talent, like, I think that's key as well.
I mean, we have some really fucking good broadcast talent.
I don't want to say anything or make any generalizing statements, but I think we have a bit of a monopoly on broadcast talent as far as the international scene goes. I think.
I've yet to see somebody cast-wise better than a Korean caster. Like, I don't know. They're just, they hype the thing up so well.
You know, back to being at tournament formats. We do need these path to pro. We, as you mentioned, we need a low level, entry level tournament system that feeds into a mid tier system where you get all the orgs. Like, so the low level you get all these random teams. You know, a bunch of friends enter in. Then the mid level you get these orgs start cropping up. You know, these fully dedicated teams. And then you have the higher, like, semi-amateur pro, you've got even more developed orgs. And then you've got the pro level, like the entry pro level, like qualifiers. And then you have the main pro level. That is what we need. That would be an ideal tournament format, in my opinion.
I think so.
Or at least some sort of path.
Even if you were to split it into just 3 sections, like what you were saying there, like you have the lower tiers and stuff, and then you have the mid tier, and then you have the high tier. And that there can close that gap quite easily, and then you don't have to worry so much about like, is that all going okay, or are they really that bad and they should be in the lower tier?
Yeah, it takes away that uncertainty.
Yeah,
shows people.
If you start giving them too many divisions, then you just start placing people into different segments of like where they sit.
I don't think we're big enough for that. I think even if the scene was big enough for that, I don't think it'd be the right thing to do. I think, like you say, we need a rigid system that is easy to understand and easy to progress through, just to so that investors and people abroad can look at it and understand it at face value and say, this is something I feel confident putting money and time and effort into to develop.
Yeah, and do you know what? I think it would be a really good thing as well for an investor to look at. Because let's be honest, people. Diablo's picked up an investor. Was it last week, Cameron, or the week
2 weeks ago?
2 weeks ago. You know, they picked up an investor, for example, right? And these people, they've got the money. Like, they've got the money to spend. They want to invest in something. They've clearly looked at it and gone, I want to put some money into them. I want to be able to like back them and support them and do whatever it is they're trying to achieve, right? An investor should be able to look at that. And just be like, yeah, I want to go with these guys. So if you put them on a show in that aspect and just be like, yeah, here you go. Here's your top end teams, you know. An investor can go, right, I want them, and them. Or I just want them. And then there's no messing around. There's no, I don't know about them guys. Like, I really don't know about them. I think it would be a good thing, especially from an investment level, to have that sort of tier system in place.
Yeah. I mean, if you look about it, like what's worked well in the past, right? You know, Call of Duty, there hasn't been anything for that. You know, that's an example of something that's worked really bad. You know, they had the CWL in Birmingham, and they've not really had anything else since. You know, you've got CS:GO. They had the Face It majors, but that's for top level. There's not, at least for FPSs, there's not many grassroots level tournaments, but MOBAs, yeah, there is.
I would. That's a tricky one because I think when you're looking at genres and stuff like that, there is a fair bit going on, but they're not based. They're all online tournaments. Moving across, you've got the NUL and the NSC that do quite a lot of grassroots for all sorts of games, and even as different Belong arenas, they have their dedicated games nights for things like Call of Duty and not sure what other shooters they might do. I think that the real trouble there is that they are just grassroots. There's nothing above that.
Yeah, I agree. The Call of Duty is just, you said there's not much there in that aspect, but I think in terms of genre, it's first-person shooters have always been like CS, for example. I've yet to find another first-person shooter that's overtaken it. Even in the days of when I used to play, CS was way up there. Nothing even came close to it. And now Overwatch has come in, and it's just like, it is a shooter. Let's be honest. There's a first-person element to it, and it's getting there slowly. But in terms of like a prize pool and what's offered and the high-level tournament that you can do from it, that's it. There is no middle ground. There is no lower tier division that people are like, yeah, I want to take part in this. I want to progress. It's either you're up there or you're down here. And
Yeah.
I think maybe one of the questions we should be asking, like, is how do we get that to happen? How do we encourage? Like, do we have to let people like the NSE and NUL do this by themselves, or do we get someone to direct that? Give it maybe government backing, like Margaret. I can't remember her name. The Minister for creative industries and stuff like that. She's really.
Oh yeah, I know what you mean. I can't remember.
I'm glad you didn't say Thatcher.
I can't remember.
I think it's Margaret James. I can't remember off the top of my head, but she's really pro esports. And Yuki did their parliamentary event. I want to see maybe the government taking more of an active role. Personally, anyway.
I think NUL would be a great stepping stone in that aspect. Like, looking from it. I personally, I don't touch them. Like, as an org, I won't touch it because it's NUL. It's a university thing. It's something that I don't feel I should ever be a part of because it's running. It's getting people into the scene. It's getting them used to things, how things are done. But I still look at the players. I still look at them and go, actually, that guy's got potential. So if I'm looking at them and I'm going to be like, okay, he's finished with NUL, like maybe I'll pick him up, then they should be supported in that level. They should have a bit of funding. They should have backing. And like, look, this is a great chance for you guys to start out and do things. And I've seen a lot of talent come from NUL. There's a lot of people that are in the industry right now that are in orgs. Through me, for example, he came from like a NUL background. Like, I think it's perfect for it. And that's just me speaking about NUL. Like, ESL's done a lot for the UK, and I'll never take that away from them as Riot's kind of branched off from the league side of it. But without them, not a lot would have happened, and ESL have managed to give out a lot to people.
I think that's such a big point there, that the ESL is probably one of the leaders for it in the UK. I don't know if you want to disagree with that, but I believe that firmly.
They are the leader, The ESL One Studio, them working with the Haymarket Theatre in Leicester, doing good things
That's
for
such
esports.
a good example.
It's so good. ESL are the leaders. I was actually so annoyed when Riot moved from ESL, just like, wipe their hands with them, we're done with you, and went to LVP. I was like, hey? Like, ESL have done so much for the UK League of Legends, and you're just wiping your hands with them like that.
I think there's probably like some business things that we will never hear of or know about in the background.
Oh yeah, obviously.
But in terms of a reputation, the scene that was built, and the foundation of it, that came from ESL, and nobody can really take that away from them. I'd love to find out if anybody would disagree with that. I can't. I've seen it. Like I've seen it be built from it. You disagree all you want, but it's there. So
Yeah.
Sorry, go on,
It's
George.
just it's just sad that I think they asked if anyone's gonna do it, they're not the people there are so immersed in the UK scene for such a wide variety of sports. They cover so many different genres and games. I think if anybody was to do it's got to be them. I think, or at least they are going to play such a vital role in leading whoever is going to do it or advising them. Say it is the government, they will need someone. They had the PSA, the British Esports Association, that exists, but I think someone with so much industry experience as the ESL Studios and ESL UK, I think they're going to be so important in leading this next step in creating this mid tier between the top and the bottom.
So,
yeah.
you mentioned earlier, right? Blizzard pushed Overwatch, it was an esport. Do you reckon we're getting to a point where it's oversaturated, people or game developers are making these games specifically to be esports, and it's gonna come down to a point down the road where every single game is gonna be released as an esport, and that's just, I don't think that's good, right?
On a multiplayer aspect, yes. If it's a first-person shooter, it's always going to be looked as, guys, let's get a 5-man team together and let's just go smash out another 5-man team. Like, that's always how it's been, even from the days of when I played, like Team Fortress, yes, Unreal, Quake, all of them. Nobody really went to the idea of this is going to be an esport. People just built the game and were just like, just pick up a railgun and go and kill 10 or 15 people with it. Then all of a sudden people are like, oh shit, we can make this competitive. Now the gaming industry is like, yeah, we're gonna build this, and it's gonna pop off in a streaming atmosphere or anything like that. But then you get your single player market. There's loads of people that play that sort of gaming, but I think with a first person shooter and a MOBA, 100% they're building and designing them to be an esport, gaming atmosphere over anything else.
What do you think, George? Do you think it's good?
Yeah, I think that's a good thing. I think, going back to those figures you were talking about, gamers, I think if you're building a game with these features built in, you're only going to make that, 3 million people who don't know what esports is. You're just putting it in their faces, which is a good thing, in my opinion.
Fortnite was... I mean, when that came out, and it was just, play beta of Fortnite, and they had no scene. There was nothing to it. It was just people running around killing each other with pickaxes, and you had to laugh and stuff like that. Then all of a sudden, you get Ninja and Las Vegas tournament. And
playing with Drake.
Yeah, and Drake's playing it, and what the fuck happened?
Yeah.
It just popped off within 3 months span.
They've been so good at supporting that, though. They recognised it, I think, really early on, they're such an active dev team anyway. They're pushing new content every couple of weeks. They're so ready to adapt that into that scene, even if they didn't build it initially as that. And that is so obvious from the fact they had their single player zombie mode thing going on before they had the battle royale.
Yeah.
But the fact that they were able to adapt that so quickly and then support that scene, they were supporting Ninja, recognizing that he was bringing in loads of interest into the game. I think that's shows how powerful that a developer can be in influencing how much success the esports scene has or a competitive scene has.
Yeah, I feel like with games, especially that have a mechanic or some sort of mechanical level of play that's involved in it, people instantly pick up on the competitive side. Battlegrounds, being one of them. You can see the whole atmosphere. If you've ever listened to people playing it in CS, Fortnite, it's always the same. There's always a guy who manages the team and leads it and has that kind of leader role. And then you have the other people that get involved with just the minigunners. And there's always that guy who starts shot calling, and it turns from shot calling into, right, we're doing this, we're playing in this tournament. Once you get to that element, it's easy.
Yeah. So, in order to round out and round off this whole stream because we're coming up on to an hour.
Yeah.
Final thoughts on UK LANs. Good, yes and no. Do we need more? Do we need less?
Yeah, I think they're good. I think they could be better, and I definitely think we need more of them.
Yeah, I agree. I think they're good. Like, they're good enough for now. They need to get better. There needs to be a little bit more development in them in terms of like prize, revenue, turnaround cost, all that kind of stuff. I think there should be a little bit more in terms of new ones, and if they are, just go big with them. Don't make them small. Go mad with them. Show them off. Get more revenue, and it will bring in more for us as a scene as well.
Okay. Esports bars, we loving them. We need more of them. What's your final thoughts on that?
Definitely more of them. As many as you can get. I'd like to see maybe, you know, people in pubs doing this sort of thing. I'd like that become a local thing rather than, oh, you can only do these things down south or in certain cities. I think we need lots more of them.
I think lots more of them as well. Like have them dotted around, make them more eligible to people, because you don't want to have like the northern lot traveling south and the southern lot traveling north. It doesn't work. We don't get on.
Tournament formats and the path to pro. Do we need more grassroots, or are we happy with how it is at the moment?
I think the example that Blizzard have set is a really solid framework that could be applied to the UK scene, and that other developers should look at and see as a way to really push esports in their titles. I think that it can only be positive if you bring that structure to something that, like the UK scene, I think, in my opinion, desperately needs that framework.
Yeah, I feel like it needs structure. Like it needs that element to be in place, so it gives a little bit more feasibility to people to work towards. Because right now it just feels a bit chaotic.
Okay. Thank you guys for coming on today. Barred a few mishaps at the start. It was pretty fun conversations. I think we got down to the nitty gritty of Insomnia. Got down to the nitty gritty of esports bars and what we'd like to see from them in the future. And hopefully we'll start seeing some more tournament formats that progress people's career. Any more final words you guys would like to add?
Yeah, I think if I had to describe the UK esports scene, I would say that it would be like driven, chaotic, and messy.
I would agree with you there, my friend.
Do you know what? I would agree as well. To be honest, I would agree on final thoughts wise. Me personally, if I'm just sticking to the one topic of the LANs, I would just like to see the pricing looked at more than anything, so that orgs and stuff and groups of people that are attending these things can look at it better and be like, oh no, like I really can't afford to do that going forward. So, and that would be my biggest thing.
Okay, thank you to everyone who tuned in. I hope you have a fantastic day and the rest of your weekend. See you next Sunday around the same time. Peace.
Take it easy.